Hi, due to copyright issues, Austin will not actually be able to play the audio for his intro, so you're left with a silent attempt at Let It Go, the song from the first Frozen movie. You probably know that by now. Okay, let's move on. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about the brand new movie for adults. For adults, it's Frozen 2. We're going to talk about it. I need your comments down below. Did you like the first Frozen? Were you excited for this? Let it go. Okay. So Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven leave Arendelle to travel to an ancient autumn-bound forest of enchanted land. They set out to find the origin of Elsa's powers in order to save their kingdom. So we have our entire cast returning. Jonathan Groff, who I now know from Mindhunter, he is back, as well as Josh Gad, Kristen Bell, Adele Nazim. Can't even joke about that anymore. Idina Menzel, just kind of capitalizing on the success of the first Frozen 6 years ago. Folks, this came out in 2013. I cannot believe it has been that long for a movie that really impacted pop culture in a way that we had never really seen prior. Now, obviously, Disney movies have come out, and over time, they have become classics, but it felt like the first Frozen was an instant classic for people, younger people, all across America. I mean, the world, this movie was such a massive hit, and people were singing these songs nonstop, on the radio, playing it for a year, and it just stuck in my head. How did I feel about the first Frozen? Well, sure, they played the music nonstop, and it did kind of become annoying after a while, but the songs were great, especially when you look at a song like Let It Go. I mean, it really does stick with you. Love is an open door. It's like I know the words to every single one of these songs, even when I didn't necessarily want to at the time, but now we look back and we're like, yeah, the songs were great. The movie itself, I liked. I think the music is actually better than the movie itself. I think there are very good moments, very good characteristics to our characters, and the sisterly relationship, that bond, is what I think carries this entire franchise, really. Same case for the second film. I think it was a bit overhyped, but obviously I wasn't the intended audience. I kind of feel the same way about this movie. I do think it will end up being overhyped when you look at box office and who shows up and who probably will end up praising it, and that's fine. This isn't a movie that's necessarily targeting me, but the beautiful thing about this franchise is it does appeal to families. Not just the young side of the families, we're talking the old side of the families, everyone. This is a movie that a lot of people are going to love, and I heard many, many people walking out of that theater singing the song that I think everyone is going to sing. It is Let It Go all over again, Into the Unknown. That's the song. Mark it, write it down. That's the one that's going to become popular. And there were a few songs like that in here that I really thoroughly enjoyed. It's just that voice. Elsa's voice is so good, and you're so on board every single time she starts singing, and you are on board every single time she starts singing. You mix in the beautiful CGI. 2019, 6 years later, right? We're talking an upgrade in technology, so I think this movie looks better. I don't know if it necessarily sounds better. I think the music in the first was more consistent, even though I do think one or two of these songs will measure up to the heights of the first one. There are also one or two songs that I wasn't the biggest fan of, and the same case goes with a few of the storylines. Like, I love the character of Kristoff. I love his impact on the first movie, and there are some great moments with him at the beginning and the end of this film. But he kind of disappears throughout the middle. He does this thing, and he's like, all right, guys, see ya, and then he comes back, and there is a character decision that is made. I'm not going to say what that decision is or even the mindset going in, but something happens at the end, and you're like, huh, how did he arrive there? He went from being really jittery and nervous to just doing it, and I'm like, I need to know what happened with that character, because they kind of leave him in the dust. We look at a character like Olaf. Now, Olaf is interesting for me because I liked him in the first film, but he did become too much at a point. For me, and this will not apply for everyone, he was too much for most of this film. Does he have his tender moments? Absolutely. Are some of the jokes funny? For sure. I feel about the same way for him as I do the Minions. Like, I enjoy the presence of the Minions, but if they're on screen for more than this amount of time, it becomes a bit too much for adults. But hey, the intended audience, they're going to love him. They were laughing throughout. This movie all comes down to the relationship between the sisters. And I do think young girls, older girls, who watch this movie and they see that sisterly bond, that relationship. And I always say that because I have a younger brother. I relate to a story about brotherhood and really relationships in general. And that's why I kind of relate to this film, but they're dealing with a bit, some different things here than they are in the movies that I respond to, right? And I think those people are going to absolutely love this because it really showcases the bond of two sisters that love each other, that care about each other. The character of Anna, she does not have special powers. And by the way, they really showcase Elsa's powers here way more than the first, and I love that. I love the visuals that were involved and the fact that she's just using them like Frozone and The Incredibles, and I'm like, yes, it's what I wanted to see in the first. We're seeing it here. We're dealing with some interesting lore here, which I thought was awesome, but the character of Anna, man, she will go for it whenever the time calls, even though she doesn't have the power. She is not as strong physically. Now, emotionally, she's very strong, but she's not as strong as her sister, so she will protect her at all costs. This movie gets emotional, and we're dealing with their past, some things that have to do with their parents, and really the gifts and the goals and the mindset that they left behind and the people involved, different tribes, if you will, different groups of people that have to put their differences together and come together. And it really is kind of a timely message if you think about it in that regard. It's like we're living in a world that everybody is just so divided and everyone thinks in different ways. And because they think in different ways, they think that they should argue. And it's like, I'm right, I'm correct. Can we all just live in a world that comes together and really puts their selfishness aside? And that was kind of the message that I got from this story. So because of that, I actually respond to the story of the second more than I did the first, even though I don't think the music is as good, and some of the character moments are much stronger in the first movie. And out of all of I'll say it like this, the first and the second half of both movies, I think the second half of the first Frozen is the best half of any of the movies in the franchise. But I do think as a whole, this screenplay is maybe a bit stronger without those very impactful moments that the first one gave us. As confusing as all of that just was, just know that I like both Frozen movies. I didn't love this movie. I wanted to love it more than I did. There were certain things I took issue with. They rushed through certain plot points. Some characters are left in the dust. There are some subplots that don't necessarily work for me. Some of the giant creature designs, they're supposed to be scary, and they do handle scale well, but the designs were just like, okay, it's another animated creature design, and they didn't really wow me as much as some of the other visuals in this movie. So at the end of the day, I will say Frozen 2 is definitely worth a watch, especially if you responded to the first. If you did not respond to the first, you may like this a bit more, you may like it less. It's according on what you're looking for. But one thing is for sure, Into the Unknown is going to be an absolute hit. So since I'm so divided as to which Frozen movie I like more, I'm actually going to go the exact same score for the second one. I'm going 70%. A movie I like, a movie that I think is good for the target audience and families will enjoy. And hey, before you go, please leave this video a thumbs up. It helps out this video, it helps out this channel. It tells me that you want more things from me. It definitely is a major part of you guys supporting me, and I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching this. We're going to do more things. I also watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood today. That review is coming tomorrow, along with some more reviews. Knives Out, seeing that tomorrow evening. Can't wait to. You guys are truly the best. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.